More now on the Boston Marathon explosions. More than 200 people were injured when the blasts occurred on that fateful day.
And joining us live on the show this morning is Jonathan Gates, the director of the Trauma Center at Brigham and Women's Hospital. It's one of many Boston hospitals that are treating those injured following the explosions. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, first of all, Dr. Gates, take us back to 2:50 last Monday. Where were you when the bombs went off in Boston, and what happened in the minutes and the hours that followed?
Well, as you know, it was Patriots Day, and the bomb exploded about 2:50 in the afternoon. And many of the members of the trauma service were here at the hospital doing other duties, and I happened to be in my office and was alerted to the fact that there were explosions in that area. So a number of us went up to the emergency department and began to assemble our resources there.
Doctor, one of the major injuries or situations that we've heard about over the last week or so was amputations. Talk about the decision-making process that goes into, is it a doctor says it has to be done? Is there any time to consult with the actual patient? How does that process work?
Well, it's very variable. And certainly if there is a threat to life because of an exsanguinating hemorrhage from an amputation, then it would be worthwhile to complete that amputation. If it's possible to reconstruct it, and it's often a multidisciplinary decision made between the trauma service and vascular surgery and plastic surgery and even orthopedic surgery. And I think when you put all heads together and make that decision, often we can temporize that decision, see how the patient is doing in general, and then make that decision over time.
You know, Dr. Gates, a lot of times people think when, a tragedy like that unfolds and there's chaos and a number of people injured, that what they see on shows like ER is probably what's going to transpire inside of your own emergency room. What was it like as you were conducting triage and trying to assess all the people coming in? Was it fairly chaotic? And just take us there, and what was it like?
Well, I would say it was more busy than chaotic. This is something that we're faced with daily, certainly not in this volume, but these are the types of patients that really the emergency department, the trauma service, orthopedic surgery takes care of on a daily basis. The difference being that there were many more patients presented at one time to the emergency department, and I think within the first 30 minutes we had 19 badly injured patients who presented. But nonetheless, we had plenty of resources on board. With great collaboration with the operating room, we were fully aware that we were going to need to bring these patients to the operating room, and we assembled individual trauma teams consisting of a trauma surgeon, emergency medicine, airway staff, plus orthopedic surgery, and were able to assign those types of teams with the residents to the individual patients when they arrived. And then in collaboration with anesthesia, we were able to make that decision who would go to the operating room first. At one point we had probably 7 operating rooms running simultaneously in what we consider the first wave of patients that we moved from the emergency department to the OR. Thereafter, we had probably another 2 to 3 waves of patients who still needed operations but were less severely injured than the first group.
Can you bring us up to date on how many people you still have recovering there? And let us know how those who are still recovering are doing in the emotional recovery now. I mean, it's been more than a week, and I would imagine that's a huge part of their healing process.
Well, we've had a number of discharges that have been doing very well, and we still have about 9 patients in the hospital now. They're all essentially doing very well. We have one patient in the intensive care unit who is doing well. And I think, in short, the patients have a lot of family support, a lot of hospital support, and I feel are generally coping with the changes that have occurred.
And one final question, Doctor, regarding a Rhode Island native that are showing right now on our screen here, Heather Abbott. I don't know how much you can comment specifically on patients due to privacy issues, but do you have any update on Heather Abbott's condition?
I think she's doing very well in general. She's obviously been through a lot, but I would say that she's coping very well.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We know it's been a very busy week to 10 days for you folks at the hospital. Thank you.
Thank you very much.